I think it has started on my end. I think I see a recording sign. So I'll go ahead and jump in. Thank you guys so much. Sorry for the few minute delay. We were working through some technical difficulties. But thank you so much for joining us today for this webinar for the Florida Museum Undergraduate Internship Program, a model for supporting museum interns. My name is Shyla Davison, and I'm the Education and Outreach Coordinator for IDIG Bio. Before I begin, I'd just like to take a few minutes to talk about IDIG Bio and the work we still have going on. As many of you know, IDIG Bio will officially conclude in 2026. For the past 25 years, IDIG Bio has had an incredible impact supporting research, collaboration, and innovation on a national scale. This isn't a moment of sadness, but one of transition. We're proud to pass the torch to the broader community, confident that the mission of advancing biodiversity, digitization, and discovery will continue in capable hands. Trying to go to the next slide. Oh, there we go. There we go. Sure. So before we dive in today, let me give you a quick overview of who we are, what our mission has been, and the exciting work still happening. IDIG Bio began 15 years ago with the support of the National Science Foundation and the vision of its founding leaders. Over that time, we've made tremendous strides together as a community, and our shared efforts have helped shape the future of biodiversity research. Sorry for the delay. We're doing remote access, and so it's kind of a delay between the slides, so I apologize. Sorry about that. At its heart, IDIG Bio works to make biodiversity specimen data widely available and useful through digitization, training, open access, and creative new applications. And while IDIG Bio as a project will eventually close, our mission and the data the community has generated will live on. Again, so sorry for the delay. We're trying to work through it here. Jesse, would you mind just stop remote control sharing and then just I'll tell you when to go to the next slide? You can just go to the next slide, Jesse. Excellent. Thank you so much. Thanks to contributions from more than 1,000 biodiversity collections across 350 institutions in the US, the IDIG Bio portal now hosts nearly 150 million specimen records and 65 million media files from over 2,000 data sets. These data will remain available long after IDIG Bio, continuing to serve the researchers, educators, students, and the public. If you want to go to the next slide. And we're not done yet. As we move towards the conclusion of the project, we have new initiatives on the horizon, just like this new webinar series, which highlights protocols, practices, and strategies to ensure long-term continuation of collections, digitization, and data mobilization. The collections community is well positioned to sustain this important work, and we're excited to support the transition. As we look towards sustaining and expanding the impact of digitization efforts, today's presentation offers a perfect example of how that can be achieved through innovative student engagement, and the Florida Museum of Natural History's Undergraduate Internship Program demonstrates how institutions can integrate hands-on learning with meaningful contributions in collections, research, and outreach. By connecting students directly with museum mentors, real-world projects, the program not only advances digitization and curation, but also cultivates the next generation of museum professionals ready to carry the work forward. Before I start things off, just a quick reminder, as with all other IDIG Bio webinars, the chat and mic functions are disabled, so please post your questions in the Q&A feature during the presentations, and we'll get to as many as time allows at the end. Thank you so much for your understanding, and without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into today's presentation. So with a little bit of technology work, Jesse, can you stop sharing your screen? And I think Mariella can pick it up from there.
Can you see everything clear?
Perfect.
Perfect. Okay. I think it's your turn, Shyla.
Okay, let's see here. Again, we're trying to do this remote control thing, so bear with us here.
Let me just put it on the.
Okay, there we go. So, yeah, go ahead and jump right in. So before we dive into the details, I'd just like to give a quick overview of what we'll be covering today. So we'll start with some background on how the Florida Museum Undergraduate Internship Program began and how it's evolved since its creation in 2022. Then we'll walk through the recruitment and application process, talk about how mentors and projects are selected, and share what we've learned from evaluations and feedback. And we'll also highlight some of the lessons learned along the way, discuss our plans for the program's future, and wrap up by offering some practical advice for institutions interested in starting their own internship programs. And yes, I think we should actually introduce ourselves. So I'll go ahead. So I already introduced myself. I'm Shyla Davison. I'm part of the internship committee. And I'll go ahead and hand it to Steve, who's the director.
Let's see. Yeah, hello, I'm Steve Manchester. I'm the current chair of our internship committee at the Florida Museum of Natural History. I'm trying to advance a slide here, but I don't see that happening. I'm also a paleobotanist. I'm one of about 30 curators responsible for collections here at the museum. This is a museum that was established in 1906, we were established as the Florida State Museum as a state repository for natural history collections.
Excuse me. We're just introducing ourselves, and then you'll have your chance to.
Oh, okay.
Just,
so I did that sort of.
Yeah.
I thought we were going to each introduce ourselves at the start of our little segment. So I'm finished introducing myself.
Okay. And I guess I can go, and then Jen, I'm Mariela Pajuelo, also a member of the internship committee and an assistant scientist here at the Florida Museum. And Jen?
Yeah, and I'm Jen Green. I'm also on the internship committee here, and I'm one of the collections managers for archaeology and ethnography.
Thank you guys so much. And so, yeah, I'll go ahead and jump right back in. So before we talk specifically about the internship program, I want to take a moment to reflect on why programs like this matter and our shared appreciation for natural history and museums. Natural history collections, excuse me, natural history collections connect us to the world of biodiversity and the stories behind every specimen, fossil, and cultural artifact. They help us understand evolution, climate change, ecosystems, and many more scientific ideas as not abstract ideas, but as tangible evidence of life on Earth. These collections are not just for researchers, they are for students, educators, and the public. They remind us that science is built through curiosity and care, through the people who take time to observe, record, and preserve the natural world. For many of our interns, this program represents the first experience inside a collections or formal museum setting. It is often their first time working directly with specimens, archives, or professionals who make these spaces come alive. And these experiences are transformative. When reviewing applications, we repeatedly see how deeply students value museums, not just as places to learn, but as places that shape their sense of belonging, purpose, and connection to science. Many applicants share personal stories about how museums have inspired them or how a single visit has changed the way they see the world. The sense of wonder and discovery is exactly what we hope to nurture through this program. At its core, this program is about opening doors, helping students not only build skills, but also see themselves as part of the museum community and the broader story of natural history and science. With that in mind, let's take a closer look how the Florida Museum has built this program that turns inspiration into opportunity. So I'll hand things over to Steve. So I'll stop sharing, or I'll give up remote control and pass it along to Steve.
Yay. So I think I already started to mention a little bit about the museum here being established in 1906. We are the state's repository for natural history objects, and So we are now situated on the campus of University of Florida, which has about 60,000 students enrolled. And currently we have these separate buildings across campus, 5 of them now. In the upper left is our exhibit building, Powell Hall, and the other buildings that you see there are research and collections facilities. We have about, what is it? I'm forgetting the number of specimens we claim that we have. About, is it 40 million, something like that? Quite an extensive collection. I should say that administratively, our museum director is ranked as an equivalent to a dean in the academic departments of the university. And each of our faculty curators has affiliate appointments in academic departments of the university. So that might be, for example, biology, geology department, anthropology, entomology, and the graduate students whose advisors are here at the museum. Their advisors may be curators here at the museum. Those students are admitted through those academic departments of the university. Yeah, I think I want to go to the next slide. There may be a bit of a delay here. Okay, and that was right arrow. All right. Yeah, these are some of the areas in which we hold collections, various disciplines of archaeology, with particular attention to Florida and the Southeast and also Caribbean, and then global collections of many of these natural history themes, including modern plants and animals and also fossils. And we also have curators responsible for molecular systematics, informatics, and artificial intelligence. Like probably many museums across the country, we have a long history of welcoming volunteers. We rely on people volunteering to help us in a lot of the tasks we do. Here you see people involved in field work locally. There are people that are helping us with digitizing specimens and databasing. And these include students from the university who may be taking some of this for credit, and also includes local volunteers who may be retirees that find this a nice hobby to spend their time working in one of these areas. You know, on reflection, especially when we had plenty of time to reflect during the COVID-19 lockdown, we realized that those who are able to volunteer are they're a select group who have the financial means to donate their time, really. And we realized that we're kind of overlooking a community of people that are less privileged and may not have that background of any chance of exposure to natural history and museums. And we sort of envisioned this internship program as a way to attract people that might not otherwise have experience with or chance to interact with the Natural History Museum. So we began this program, what was it, 2022, with the idea of how can we broaden the scope of people that are interacting with us in the museum. That is, different backgrounds of people, but also people from different parts of the campus and different departments and so forth. And so we began this with some grassroots funding. There were actually donations from our staff and faculty to say, hey, we want to get something going here with you know, supporting interns with an hourly wage that one could live on. You know, you wouldn't have to have another job in order to manage to be in school here and also participate in some museum activities. We initiated this program, and really it's kind of a, I think other people might discuss this too, that it's not the same kind of internship that you might envision, where students with the most experience and background already would be the ones favored, you know, for particular positions in the museum. That's sort of the way we're used to thinking. But instead, we wanted to say, what about people who haven't had the chance? And so we're trying to make it possible to bring in people that might not normally have this opportunity. So it's a different way of reviewing applications too. So we started that, and it started with, I think we had 8, and now we're up to 14 students that per semester, and our semesters are about 15 weeks long, and so they're paid for a reasonable wage for up to 80 hours. I think that goes to the next slide. And in terms of recruiting, we send out an announcement well before that semester of the internship begins. We send out an announcement with indicating the deadline and the application procedures, and we send that out to these different units across campus, student groups and departments, welcoming them to distribute them more widely. And so we do our best to try to reach people across the campus. And then the next slide, as it comes in, is going to show you when we ask those applicants to let us know, how did you learn about this program? These are some of the words that there won't be a quiz on all of these words, but these are what people indicated as the source of information for finding out about the program. And so there's a diversity there. I think.
Thank you, Steve. Yes, so after students go through the recruitment process, everything really flows through our Florida Museum Undergraduate Internship Program website. This is our main hub for coordinating the program. It's where students are going to learn about the current opportunities, the requirements for applying. The link to apply itself is there as well. And also mentors that are new to the program can check past projects to see what the requirements are. And so basically having this kind of public facing and centralized resource has been great for us to keep everything organized and accessible for both the students, but also the mentors. And so I encourage you to check it out.
So I'm up now. So basically the application process, as Steve had mentioned, was basically the people who are eligible to apply are any active undergraduate students who are enrolled at the University of Florida that have not had any previously paid opportunities at the museum. So they're all eligible to apply. The only folks that aren't under the current situation are graduate students. Next slide. Okay. So as far as the application process, we basically have a, wait, did that do? Yeah, so we have a Qualtrics link on our website that we keep open for approximately 3 weeks. And like Steve had mentioned, we cross-list it to the various departments, and then they can disseminate to their listservs. We also look at different student organizations across campus, so we can send that link to. And like, for example, this semester, we basically open the call for applications in the fall, like towards the end of October. So it gives the students a couple weeks, like about 3 weeks, to fill out their applications, to get knowledge of the opportunity. And then it allows the committee to then rank the applications and make decisions prior to the end of the current semester, so that when students basically go home for winter break or summer break, they already know ahead of time whether they have a paid internship coming their way the following semester. And, this way, like they had mentioned, it allows students to kind of have a heads up and be able to do some like financial planning and figuring out their schedules with advanced notice. And then we only offer the internship program in the fall and the spring semester, due to just general limitations with our museum. So if like not that many people are around during the summer and able to offer their mentorship because they're off doing research and things like that. So it's just a fall and spring thing at our institution. And then for the application process itself, we ask a couple pretty basic questions. So like number one, the first item is whether you've had any paid experiences in the past at the museum. We also inquire about their degree program and graduation, expected graduation date, and any personal experiences that the student has to better understand like their choices when they ask for, so they get to rank their choices. So they pick their first preferred choice, second preferred, and third choice. So we use the information that they give us in their personal statement to better examine the opportunities that they're looking for and to help them better reach their long-term and even short-term goals as students at the university. And then we ask the students how their participation in the program will help expand the museum's reaches beyond traditional audiences. And for that, we basically provide them a link to the museum vision and mission statement that's featured in our annual report. So basically the students can not only kind of get a big sense of what our museum stands for, like currently we have about 300 employees across the whole museum, from research and collections to marketing and communication and science and educational outreach. So it gets them to like already be familiar with our museum and the types of work we do by hopefully reading that mission statement and understanding what our bigger goals are here. And then we definitely encourage new perspectives, and we want students from various academic backgrounds, underserved communities, especially including first-generation students. And Mariella will go through some more background on the actual students, both current and past, that we've had apply to the program. Next slide. There we go. Okay, so this is an abbreviated rubric since the current one that we use with our scoring is a little too big to fit on one slide. But it's rather simple, and it can be basically modified to fit whatever questions or whatever questions your institution is looking for. We keep it simple on a 0 to 4-point scale for each individual question. We allow half-point scaling. And basically each applicant is evaluated by 3 different committee members at the museum. And we take the average of those 3 scores to make our final ranking determination. But like scientists we look to see if there's any outliers. So for example, if there's a discrepancy and one of the 3 reviewers ranks someone much higher or much lower than the other 2, we sit down and we talk about it so that we can make a better evaluation moving forward. And then the whole rubric, like I said, we would be happy to share it. So if you email any of us after the presentation, we can definitely do that for you. Okay, next slide.
Thank you, Jen. So talking about the interns now that we've hosted here in the internship. So over the past few years, we've hosted 79 interns. And you can see here the different colors are representing the different majors of the interns, right? In blue, we have those informal sciences like computer science, engineering, statistics. In green are those natural science major like biology, botany, marine sciences, and in red, those from social sciences and art, so sociology, anthropology, and history, art history, etc. But we can see that lately in the past years, we've gotten, like Steve mentioned, between 11 to 14 students each semester, but we started with just 7 of them. And we've also seen a shift in the majors of students that apply, right? In the beginning, we had more students from anthropology mainly. And as we were able to broaden our outreach across campus and also offer a wide variety of projects, we've been able to attract more students from the natural sciences, as you can see here. And so we've diversified a little bit those that who apply to the program. And so overall, the interns are from 28 different majors from 6 different colleges. So as you can see here, a wide diversity of majors, but the majority are from anthropology, wildlife ecology and conservation, and biology. You can also see here in the right side that our interns come from every level, right from freshman to senior. So we're engaging with students at different stages in their college career. And then most importantly, I would say that the big majority, like 80% of these students, had no prior museum research or experience before joining the internship, right? And I think this is one of the most impactful aspects of the program, because it shows that the program is opening the doors of the museum to students that may have never imagined that they could be doing research or collection work or engaging in science communications within a museum setting. And so now if we look at the total number of applications we've received, we can really see how much interest we've generated with this program, right? We've received over 500 applications so far from 65 majors from 10 different colleges, right? And it's not shown here, but lately we've been receiving between 90 to 130 applications each semester. So that's a clear sign that there's a strong demand for this type of experiences at the museum. And so this graph here that you see is to show you the top 8 majors that apply to the internship, right? And as you can see, anthropology, wildlife ecology, and conservation, biology are the top ones, right? Students that have a strong interest in natural history and conservation related fields. But I think what's been really exciting to see is that an increasing variety of majors that are applying to the program each semester, right? So this is telling us that students from different backgrounds, right, from computer science, engineering, journalism, public health, music, you name it, they see the museum as a place where they can get meaningful experiences, but also where they can make a real contribution. Like Jen mentioned, as part of the application process, we asked them to think about how they can help expand the museum reach, right? And so that challenges the student to see how their unique skills and perspectives can actually make an impact in the research, in the science that's being conducted at the museum. And finally, this stack bar charts is to show you a comparison of all the student applications, their majors, right, disciplinary backgrounds, versus the interns that get selected. And as you can see, generally, the interns that are joining the program reflect all those students that are applying. And by the way, we do not choose interns based on their major, but because the type of projects that are offered in the internship is actually attracting students from particular fields, and ultimately that gets reflected in those that are joining the program. So we really are attracting a wide variety of students from across campus.
Yes. So is this, I can't recall if this is my slide. Am I talking out of turn?
No, that's your slide, Steve.
Okay. For mentoring the program, We invite, so well before that this semester of the internship begins, we circulate a request to the curators and collection support staff and their graduate students, inviting projects. Do they have projects that someone who without much experience might be able to help with? So we invite those projects, and then those become choices on the pull down menu for students who are applying. They could apply for any of those projects that are offered. And then we wind up now, lately, we have more projects listed than we have positions for students. So a mentor may or may not have a student that semester that's in the program. Those mentors whose students did rise to the top, they then, we double check with them before we send the congratulations note to the student. But generally it works out that yes, they then have an intern and there's a relationship with that mentor. And so we ask those mentors for the semester to attend an orientation session so we can sort of discuss the expectations of the program and how to be a good mentor to welcome the student into the community of that laboratory or collection area that they're working in and make them feel comfortable, even though there may be some gap of in terms of generations and various things, how people share their ideas and how to be a good mentor for this program. And something else. We also, during that the session with mentors, we remind them, please, to give guidance, make sure your student is getting onboarded for payroll, very important, and help to give them guidance for the expectation of a final project report and an oral presentation that they give at the end. Now I'll go on to the next slide, I think. Yeah, these are some examples of what, if you applied for this program, these are some of the choices you would have from this semester that we're into now. These are projects that were made available to the students. And I think these are current. Yeah, we have students in most of these. So yeah, across natural sciences, computer and data sciences, imaging, 3D imaging, CT scan related things. We asked the students to give their top 3 ranked, or what are their top 3 choices. And it may turn out that as we rank these students, maybe the top ranked student of all the applicants chooses one of these, and the second person that chooses the same topic that's no longer available because we've given it to the top ranked one. So we have to juggle things a bit so people will at least hopefully get their third choice, if not their first choice, among those top 10 to 14 students who received the awards. Okay.
Thank you, Steve. So another important aspect of the program is how we build community and support professional growth for our interns. And so beyond the individual research that they will conduct or the museum placements that they will conduct, we want interns to feel also part of the museum community. And so to do that, we make sure to offer opportunities for social connection and shared learning. So for example, each semester we organize events that combine a social gathering with a collections tour. And so the interns will start with a pizza lunch or an ice cream social, and then we'll continue in a relaxed setting, right, where they can connect to each other and with mentors or faculty. And then they continue with a collections tour where they meet museum staff and they learn more about the multiple disciplines across the museum. And so lately we'll also emphasize professional development. So far, interns have participated in workshops like create your research poster or build your CV as well. And as part of the internship, like Steve mentioned, every student is required to to write a final report and to give a final presentation, lightning talk to the museum community. And this not only strengthens their communication skills, but also helps them reflect on what they've learned and how they've grown during the experiences. And so all of this together makes this internship something very meaningful for the students, which we'll present in a minute when we talk about the feedback. But before that, I'm going to show you this logic model. So all of these pieces that we've talked, the research, the mentoring, the community building, the professional development, all those work together to support, right, the professional growth of the interns. But when we first started the internship, we didn't have a formal tool to show how all these pieces fit together. And so we just knew what we wanted to accomplish. But earlier in this year, museum graduate student Erin Grady created this logic model for us as part of an evaluation course that she was taking. And so the logic model is a visual roadmap to show us how our resources and our activities lead to outcomes, both in the short term, like you can see here, or in the long term. And in reality, for anyone that is developing a program or refining a program, this is a very powerful tool because it will help you clarify your goals, show what are the needed resources, and map your strategies to early objectives, as you can see here. So in our case, laying out everything visually, it helped us made it very clear for us that recruiting undergraduates, right, that had no connection to the museum, pairing them with mentors, and building community led to an increased connection to the museum. So now there are a lot of students that know about the internship. There are a lot of departments that are aware of the museum, right? There also has increased the connection of students with the museum faculty and staff and the community itself. And ultimately, we want to that students increase their academic, professional, and personal success, and they end up with an enhanced societal appreciation for natural history, right? So having this logic model or roadmap is also helpful in terms of how we measure the impact of our program. And so over the years, we've also gathered feedback from students and recently from mentors about the internship, right? About the experience. And so next, we are going to share this feedback and what we've learned from that and how it has helped us continue to improve the internship.
Working as an intern with the Florida Museum's Undergraduate Internship program gave me an understanding of the collections that I would never have had access to before. Over the course of the program, I was able to utilize the collections to develop a research project, to pursue that research project while collaborating with and learning from museum professionals, work on technical skills and report writing and lightning presentation talks, and really target the project towards my own interests and my own goals. I was working in the vertebrate paleontology collections, cataloging Florida fossils, and I am still working there today. I'm now a graduate student, and I'm on my third year at the museum, and I'm able to blend the work that I do here with my graduate work now in anthropology, and this position would never have been possible without this internship. In addition to all of the technical skills and all the resources that are available through the undergraduate internship program, I think what really sets it apart is the community that it helped build too of undergraduate peers. We all had different projects, we were working on a wide range of research all across the museum, but that's what made it all the more fascinating when we were able to come back together at the end of the program and hear each other's presentations about each other's work. Ultimately, the program's support of our work and our support of each other was my favorite part of the experience, and I'm very grateful to have been part of this internship.
Excellent. Oh, thank you so much. And I'll go ahead and read one more comment. Sabrina Morales, a 2023 intern, said, "I felt and continue to feel so lucky to have been able to participate in a program that opens doors for undergraduates to learn about real museum collections care and research. If I have any academic and professional success, I owe it all to my Florida Museum undergraduate internship experience and the many brilliant people I met as a result of it." So as you heard from those interns, they summed it up beautifully, saying they felt lucky to be a part of a program that opened up doors, and their future success would be tied to what they learned and the people who supported them. Comments like that show that a single semester can change a student's entire direction. And so let's jump into some program evaluations. When we reviewed feedback, oh, goodness gracious, I think I went too far. To go back. All right, you jumped ahead and now it's not coming up. Sorry for the delay, I apologize. Mariella, it seems like my screen is frozen. Would you be able to go back by chance? There we go. There we go. Sorry about that. So yeah, when we reviewed feedback from the interns across several semesters, one thing stood out immediately. The responses were overwhelmingly positive. Students consistently described the experience as valuable, inspiring, and even life-changing. They emphasized the hands-on nature of the work, getting to handle specimens, digitize data, conduct lab analysis, and participate in fieldwork. For many, it was their first opportunity to see how research and collections care actually happen behind the scenes. And that direct experience made everything they had learned in the classroom feel even more real and relevant. Beyond the technical skills, the students talked about mentorship and community as a highlight of the program. They felt genuinely supported by their mentors and welcome into the museum's professional environment. Many said they built meaningful connections with staff, faculty, and other interns, and they expect to carry that forward into their future careers. The program also helped shape career paths. Several students said their internship clarified their interest in museum work, research, and or conservation. It also gave them confidence to pursue opportunities they had maybe not considered before. They left feeling more capable, more connected, and more aware of how their individual work contributes to a larger scientific mission. And just as importantly, they describe it as fun and engaging. Even the repetitive parts and the hard work is seen as satisfying because they knew they were contributing to something meaningful. Students consistently called the internship unique and a unique immersive experience that they would recommend to others without hesitation. So we'll go ahead and try to change slides one more time to the challenges. Thank you so much. So with every good thing, there's a few challenges that comes along with them. So there were a few challenges noted as well. Some students noted that scheduling could be difficult to balance with classes and other responsibilities. And few pointed out when mentors had limited time availability, it made it harder to get hands-on experience like they had hoped, which happens, unfortunately. A number of interns also mentioned that onboarding could be confusing at first. We all hate onboarding. We all hate paperwork. It can all be a pain. Between forms, access to museum spaces, and learning museum protocols, sometimes it took a little while to feel settled in. But once they were oriented, most felt well supported and appreciated the structure the program provided. Even with these hurdles, students saw the challenges as learning opportunities. They said that managing their time, accepting different work styles, and navigating new systems helped them develop discipline, communication, and problem-solving skills. They appreciated that the museum environment allowed room for mistakes and growth rather than expecting perfection from the beginning and from the start. A key takeaway from this feedback is that flexibility and clear communication matter. When interns are tasked and when internships are tasked and aligned with student schedules, mentors are available, and onboarding is streamlined, the overall experience becomes much stronger. The program is already built on the support and structure, so continuing to fine tune and refine these elements will make it even more accessible and rewarding for future cohorts. And I think it's Jen's.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so thank you, Shyla. And so with the same vein, we wanted to also get mentor feedback because mentors don't get paid We are doing this because we believe in the program. We want to provide opportunities to students. And part of the program evaluation there was also just seeing what mentors had thought, because we basically give a survey feedback to the students every semester, but this was the first time since the beginning of the internship program that we also gave this evaluation to all of the current and former mentors. So with looking at the lifetime of the program so far, there were 53 individual mentors who have contributed their time and expertise to be a part of this program. And those folks over the years have ranged from the educational and outreach team, curators, collection managers, our science writing team, and even graduate students and postdocs. And then throughout the years, graduate students and postdocs have actually amounted to 21% of the mentors that have been a part of this program. And I think that this is like a very unique opportunity for both graduate students and the postdocs, because they can gain valuable experience in mentoring while building their own schedules with their interns, and they learn basically that value of time management and mentorship, since this internship it is involved within 80 hours within a single semester, and that only occurs once the onboarding starts. So sometimes it can feel very rushed, but we provide flexibility that students can work a little bit. If they don't quite meet their 80 hours, they can work after the semester, but that all comes down to good communication with the mentors. And then overall, the mentor feedback has been positive, and it includes everything from getting to open the door to new students with fresh perspectives, which like breathes air into our lives, because we do the same thing every day. We see the same collections. Some people have been managing their collections for decades, and then when you have that one, freshman, sophomore, junior that's never been in a museum, and they get so excited, that reminds us why we do what we do, and it's a breath of fresh air. So seeing like their desire and excitement to learn is one of the positive things we've received from our mentors. And then they liked it, and like a lot of the mentors have enjoyed being able to stay connected with their interns over the years, and make connections with them for them at conferences, like, oh, you've been working on this project, like here's the co-author of this study, or reviewing their CV or their cover letter for their next job, and like being able to assist them with their next like professional development opportunities. So as far as some of the impacts and outcomes of the survey, we found that over 80% of the interns met the expectations of their mentors, which is awesome. That's what we like to hear. That makes us feel like we were communicating what the program is and what the program isn't. And more communication is always needed every semester. You reiterate the program goals to both mentors and mentees. And then we found that one of the other things, we found that 60% of the mentors reported that the funding of this project, like through the internship program, was one of the only ways that this project would have been able to happen. And I say that because within our museum structure, a lot of our mentors are collection managers, and we have very limited pockets of money that we have every year to spend, and typically that budget is allocated for supplies and supplies and costs of actually curating the collections, and very little for some folks is actually available to pay for assistance. So some of these projects have been the only way they've been able to happen is because of the finances that the internship allows for. And it was also really wonderful to see that about 75% of the mentors still keep in touch with their mentees. And like I said, we receive letters from our students all the time asking like, hey, we're applying for a new job. Can I use you as a reference? And like, we're always excited for that email to come and to continue to say yes. So that's one of the big impacts, is also realizing that like you're once a mentor, kind of always a mentor, especially if the relationship goes well. So that's a big take home. Next slide. Awesome, thank you. So, and just like anything, there's the positives and the negatives. So we did also look for mentor critiques and ways that we can improve the program. So some of the feedback that we got this year from the past and current mentors, which was all anonymous, by the way, how that survey was set up. But by far the consensus was that mentors wanted a greater opportunity to weigh in about the decision of like which student gets paired with their project. And we've actually discussed this over the years at this point, numerous meetings, numerous times, to try to come up with a way to like make mentors happier with that situation. But we found that because of our very fast timeline for like the application period, it posed the logistical challenges, because it's hard enough to get a committee of like 6 to 8 people together to review applications within like a week or two and turn them around and be ready to send out those letters. If you were to also then involve up to 14 individual mentors to then be able to get their involvement, that's really challenging, and it really impedes the process, especially with, this is the time of the year where a lot of conferences are happening, grant applications are due, and people are busy. And that's why these committees exist. So the part of like the beauty of the internship committee at the Florida Museum is that we worked really hard to put together a committee with diverse interdisciplinary backgrounds and knowledge to be able to appropriately rank and review these applications. So like our committee is filled with people from, cultural heritage collections, folks like anthropology and ethnography. We have paleontology, science writing, everything from ichthyology to AI. So our committee is our strength that we can help to help place these students where they need to be based on their interests as well. And then, like Shyla had mentioned, one of the challenges that the students had said was the onboarding, right? So we work with our museum human resources department as effectively as possible so that we can, in an ideal world, if we know which students are, already chosen for the next semester's internship, and they already agree to the project while the last part of the school session is in place, those students can come to museum HR during that current semester to already get their paperwork going before they go home for winter or summer break. So we're working around a lot of challenges with the onboarding process to speed that up. There's definitely room for improvement right there. And then the other part of the improvement is we're making we're working to make it more clear to mentors the expectations for final reports and presentations, sharing the rubrics for how students are evaluated, and then keeping those emails coming as reminders all the time. Next slide. Great, thank you. And then from the committee side of things, some of the things that we learned were, this is a consistent time commitment. So you're constantly engaged in your committee work. But just like anything, there's definitely ebbs and flows. There's a busy season for everything, especially when it comes to ranking applications, and then a slow side of things. So that's one of the things that you always need to keep in mind, and then look to the future. So if you know that like part of your committee is not going to be around during application review time, and we're getting 160 applications requiring 3 different people to look at every single one, we need to be in good communication with each other to plan ahead. And we also found that the students who were the most successful in the internship program and who attended all the extracurricular events were actually the ones that had like really strong communication with their mentors, and their mentors were actively checked in and reminding their students of the events. So that was one of the big things that I feel like we all learned. And then again, one of the things that we started doing a couple of years ago was those collection tours. They weren't originally a part of the internship program, but we found that they were a really good highlight. We always paired them with pizza or ice cream beforehand, so maybe that had something to do with the excitement of that. But we found that we found the sweet spot of the small cohort for like 10 to 15 students, which allowed the presentations at the end of the semester to go pretty quickly. It also allowed for students to come together in the smaller collection spaces and not feel overcrowded. Next slide, please. And then, yeah, so just like anything, advertising, one of the other things, again, advertising is a great thing. But we know that once with the beginning of the internship program, we were not getting 160 applications in a single setting. So knowing that the more you advertise and how big your university setting is, you will have to, obviously prepare accordingly for those number of applications to come in. But it's also very positive because we're hearing folks talk about the museum that normally didn't. We have students that are coming to volunteer even, and because they're like, well, my roommate was an intern and she loved it and it was awesome. So I was just like, I just want to volunteer. So that's really positive. Like that's a very bright side of the impacts over the last several years. And then finally on my side, some of the challenges, and I know we're going to be discussing this, is like securing sustainable funding for the future to be able to have a competitive program every fall and every spring semester, and figuring out how to keep that alive. And then again, building stronger evaluation and feedback systems so that we can hear more from mentors and mentees and external folks to see if there's different ways that we can improve. And next.
Thank you, Jen. Yes, so all of the feedback that we've received has helped us refine the program and make it stronger. But looking ahead, we have several exciting directions for the program. Number one, like Jen mentioned, evaluation is one of our challenges. But fortunately, we had this museum graduate student that already created an evaluation plan for us. So we would want to implement a comprehensive program evaluation plan to track our outcomes more systematically. And because we also need to think about sustainable funding, we are going to try to explore funding through museum faculty grants and also developing partnerships with UF departments, especially from those departments where we get the majority of students from. And finally, we would want to establish the program as a 3-credit experiential learning option through UF Quest 3, which is an experiential learning course. And so this would allow students to get formal academic credits for their participation. And in a year or two, every student at UF is going to be required to get UF Quest 3 credits. So I think these steps will help us continue building a program that's going to support the students' growth, but also strengthen their connection to the Florida Museum. And with that, Steve is going to talk about starting an internship at your institution.
Yeah, thanks, Mariella. Yeah, so how would you go about starting this sort of a thing at your home institution? I guess there's some bullet points here that, I mean, the first one, I guess that is kind of crucial, getting, is your administration on board with this? And, as you get thumbs up at that point, then where do we get the money or the funding to pay folks for these internships? And I think, if you're allowed to seek donations, through your university or institution, I think there are a lot of people who really think this kind of educational program is ideal and that they would like to donate to something like this. But you have to think creatively, how can we get funding to make this happen? Here at Florida, we don't have an endowment for it. We'd love to, but we have to just sort of seek funding from one semester to the next and see where we are and vary the number of internships available depending on, how that works out. So yeah, it may be advisable to start with just a few, 2 or 3 interns and see how that goes. And if that has a positive outcome, maybe that can be used as ammunition to obtain more funding from people that like what you're doing. And we think it's important to pay students competitively, not just to say what's the minimum wage we can get by with in our state, but can we actually give them a wage that allows them to manage financially so that they don't have to be independently wealthy to be spending their time at the museum. We've taken the philosophy of limiting the internship to one 15-week semester. And that's with the sense that we want to extend the opportunity, the same kind of opportunity to new students each semester. And that's kind of a limitation because some students may feel like, oh, I'm just getting going on my project and now the semester is over. If they have funding, if they haven't used their 80 hours, we can sometimes work it out that they could continue and use some of the funds that are residue from the previous semester. But at least here, students are understanding it's a one-time thing for them. If they want to volunteer, they may be able to work that out. There may be other funding sources for the project that they have gotten interested in. And their mentors can also help them apply for funding for projects, both through other avenues at the university and through various professional societies. So we've taken that approach. You might say, no, let's give them a year of support. That's going to vary with the kind of institution you have and what you need to be have happening. Let's see, I'll try to get the next slide here shortly. And these are some thoughts based on our experience that having a committee of 5, or as Jen mentioned, we have 8, I think that we try to have on our, that are the oversight committee, or in our case, it's the Florida Museum Undergraduate Internship Committee, we call ourselves. And we meet monthly, sometimes more if we have to, but generally once a month to discuss the program and how to initially how to get the thing off the ground. And part of that, as Mariella mentioned, is setting up a website, setting that website up so there's an application portal included. Then, when you get those applications, you have to know what to do with them. So you need to have a team of people, presumably that committee, who are willing to critique those applications and rank them, as Jen was mentioning, so that can decide who gets letters of congratulation and then who gets letters of, well, sorry, we had a lot of applications and we're not able to offer you something this semester. Please try in the future. So those letters need to go out to all those students, and we need to coordinate again with the mentors too. And then, at your institution, then promoting these opportunities once you've got something started to let people know across the campus. We don't, at least here, we're trying to get away from that it's this inside group, the inside track that knows, oh, there's this opportunity at the museum. We would like it to be known broadly and have it be competitive across the campus. And then, yeah, plan these sessions for the interns. That is introductory session for the interns. We do that as a Zoom thing initially. They get to introduce each other and the project they're starting on and the mentor they have. And then we do the same with the mentors, as mentioned before. They get to know each other and the projects that they are mentors for. And then these you may then want to be considering, okay, are we going to do these social gatherings? Like we mentioned, we do tours of the collections. We have actually Jen just mentioned we did tours. That was her idea. That was quite a nice improvement to the program. We all enjoyed touring collections that we ourselves don't always see in other parts of the museum. And my idea was the ice cream. And together, I think that works out pretty well. Ice cream social and a pizza luncheon. Those kind of things, if you're going to do them, you need to reserve the space where that's going to happen and figure out who's going to do the catering and all that sort of thing. And then, of course, the fun thing for people, they're nervous about it, of course, is that they're going to give this final 5-minute presentation on their topic. But it's really a joy to have everybody get together and have each person speak on what they did, and then the next person comes up and they did something completely different, and it gives you this really good sense of fun things that are happening across the whole museum and this program. And so that's a nice way to bring things to a close. And of course, you can invite people that you might think would be interested to donate to such a program. They might want to attend these the final presentations as well. You know, that doesn't hurt. So those are some thoughts. We all have different institutions and different sort of ways that things are managed, but you can use your own creativity to get something going that might be similar to ours, or it could be something that goes a different direction. But yeah, thanks. I think, yeah, now we're up to questions that I think Shyla may be our moderator.
Yeah, and I would also just like to say that if you have any questions outside of this, feel free to email any one of us, and we're happy to answer them or pass them on to anybody who can answer them, get them to the right place.
Can I say I forgot to say one thing? We owe a lot to iDigBio for supporting this from this, you know, along the way. I really appreciate it. And Shyla, thanks for your part in that.
I would just like to pass that over to Gil. Gil's the mastermind behind
Yes.
the iDigBio. So thank you, Gil.
Thank you, Gil.
And so, yeah, we'll go ahead and jump into the Q&A. We have some great questions already lined up. I know that we may have already answered this first one, but it might be good to just reiterate. The question is, how did you advertise the program to reach such a broad swath of academic majors and departments?
Well, so initially we would advertise within the museum and then ask the faculty to share with their own departments, but we found success by reaching out to the Center for Undergraduate Research here on UF that reaches out to every undergraduate from every major across campus. So I think that has been helpful, but we still reach out to the undergraduate coordinators at each department that we can as well.
It's been basically an email that we try to encourage people to forward on with a link to our website. Right.
Excellent. Thank you. And it has been very successful. We do have a very diverse group of applicants. The next question, did you incorporate a core curriculum for all interns to follow each semester, or were their educational opportunities more individualized with their respective mentors? Would love to hear more about their educational experiences.
So
yeah, go ahead, Jen.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So I'm kind of happy to share as both a committee member and I've also been a past mentor. So for example, we as a committee, we don't really force the mentors to do any set sort of I don't know, like curriculum. It's really just like, hey, what is your individual project? Provide them with some resources that might be helpful to if maybe they've never even taken that intro to paleontology class. Maybe they've never taken an anthropology or archaeology class, but they're in your collection. So having like just a really good, like nuanced conversation about like your collections, the type of work you do, it's really tailored towards that individual relationship between the mentor and mentee. And then depending on the project they're working on, like you can provide them with very tailored resources towards what they're working on. So for example, within the archaeology realm, we are doing a lot of NAGPRA compliance. So I have my students look at the Department of Interior's guidelines for the regulations. We talk about them, we watch some of their webinars, and we can have our own sort of like curriculum that we follow ourselves.
Excellent. Does anybody have anything to add?
I just was going to add that for most of the projects, there are not any required skills because we want to attract students from different backgrounds, right? And we don't want to limit to those that already have the particular skills. So it's very individualized how the mentor works with their mentee. The only requirements, like we mentioned, are the written report and the final presentation, but that also has a lot of input from their mentors.
Yeah, we try to, when we learn of university-wide opportunities that might be, like poster sessions for undergraduate research and things like that, we encourage them to participate. Not a requirement, but hey, here's an opportunity. And then within each of these disciplines where people are mentoring projects, we try to remind them, hey, the Ichthyology Society has an international meeting coming soon, and you should apply for funding. Our department might have some funding for an undergraduate to go and participate and present your results. So that varies. I think in a lot of cases that happens, that the undergrads wind up presenting and they get funding from their academic department and or our museum to allow them to travel there.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Thank you for such great info. Has anyone on the team, on the FUIP team, used the ASTC professional pathways in informal STEM learning resources? Or can you talk a little bit more about what resources went into developing of your logic model? And they also dropped a link. I can go ahead and share that with the...
No, I mean, I wasn't aware of those resources, but we surely will check them out. And as part of the development of the logic model, that was all the graduate student, Erin Grady. So we just received the plan. Of course, we discussed with her what the program was about, but it's her expertise for that course. And so we're going to try to adapt it to our needs as well. But yeah, no, I wouldn't know to talk about in detail.
Thank you for sharing that resource. I did share it with the groups, with the panelists, so we can maybe look into that after the webinar. So the next question is, can you discuss the current funding model used? Steve mentioned staff faculty donating money.
Yeah, that's how we start. Actually, I don't think I went into great detail about how we started. We first had an idea committee where we were trying to, George Floyd had been murdered, and we were in this, realizing how privileged we are. Here I am, a white guy that got support to be in a museum for his whole career. I mean, we realized we need to understand where other communities are coming from and how to support them better. And so this started out as what we call the idea committee. And some of you may know our wonderful governor and legislatures made these kind of committees illegal in the state of Florida a couple of years ago. So we had to abandon that committee, but we realized, hey, we've got a program going here that is not, I mean, it's broader than that. We're not, we're still interested in bringing underrepresented groups in, but that's not our main theme. We want to bring a broader representation into the museum. And so we've continued in that way. And for funding, we go to, as mentioned, iDigBio has been helpful to us. And they've been matching for the past several years, matching the funding that our Department of Natural Sciences comes up with. And we've also had some matching from the Museum Exhibits Department, supporting one or two internships for people focused on exhibits and outreach. But yeah, again, that varies. We're realizing now that we are going to need to realize, how do we go without funding from iDigBio, as things wind down, as Shiloh was mentioning. It's been wonderful what all has been accomplished. And so we're having to think about other ways to attract funding for this program. I think our department is still seeing the value of this and will be able to continue at some level. And then we're hoping that we can use this in a funding effort for more donations to really keep it going at our current level into the coming years.
Dave, let me add one thing to that. So iDigBio does not support this program through NSF funding or any of its programmatic funding. It supports it primarily through PI overhead. And so at many institutions, there are PIs that have PI overhead. And that's just how we've decided to put ours in, that we think it's valuable. We think it really is what iDigBio was all about. And so, it's not like we had a special pot of funds to do it that came through our grant. So it's anyway, I think that's an important thing for museums to think about with the researchers that get some of the services from these interns that do really great work for the researchers and the collections managers and the curators. It's a nice way for these curators and collections managers who have projects to send some of their PI overhead back for that service.
Thank you, Gil. Oh, and that's just reminded me, you mentioned NSF. The who is it, NSF still exist? I think it does. We have in the past few years some of the faculty who've been applying for grants to support their research. They've been including the funding for interns to be and for those interns to be selected in this way that we have, that's targeting inexperienced people who can be helpful to that project. And so we've had support for, I think, 4 students now in the last couple of years coming from direct support in NSF grants that are saying, hey, we want to reach out to our undergraduates.
That's a great sales point too, I think, to grantors, that, this is going to folks who might otherwise not have ever considered a career in the sciences.
Excellent. Thank you so much for going into detail on that. Next question is, how do you encourage mentor buy-in, particularly for those who already have full plates?
Well, that hasn't been an issue for us really. And it ranges from full curators that, some were approaching retirement and others that are, just new assistant curators that just arrived. They all see this as a positive thing, and they have been eager to think of projects that can be useful in this program. And then the collection managers and graduate students, of course, those graduate students need, they need the thumbs up from their advisor, but there's just been a lot of positive sense that, hey, this is something we want to do.
Yeah, we've gotten more projects than we can award internships, in fact. And so we've had to offer those opportunities later as volunteer options for students. But I don't think we've had any problem so far. Everybody wants a mentee.
Yeah.
A paid mentee.
Yeah, it's a different way of screening for who would be who you would have as your employee in your department. And I can see where that question might be coming from. Why would I want to have somebody with no experience when I could have this person that's been working in the collection already knows what we need done? And it's, you have to decide what's the balance that you want to have. And I don't know, probably each of us were so fortunate at some point in our career to get tied in this way. And if we can offer that same kind of opportunity to new people, it's a good thing.
Yeah, I think it's professionalism. Folks trying to do for the profession.
Yeah.
Excellent. And this is our last question in the queue. So if anybody else in the audience has any more questions, feel free to drop them in now. The question is a more logistical question. how did you run? But did you run into any issues with work study awards, or did you utilize work study funding to support interns at all?
I can speak to that to somewhat. That we have not used work study funds in support of this program directly. What happens sometimes is somebody gets started in this program and the collection area that they're working in is so happy with the work they did over one semester that they say, hey, we have some work study funding. Would you like to continue next semester or next year? And so that can work out that way, but we have not integrated our program with work study funding.
Thank you so much. That was our last question. I'll give it a second to see if anybody has any more questions to drop in. In the meantime, does anybody on the panel have anything to add or any last minute comments? Well, I don't think anybody dropped in any questions, so I'll go ahead and tie it all up. Before we end, I just want to say thank you for everybody for showing up, all our attendees and our presenters for talking about this amazing program and the impact it has. I would just like to mention that this is recorded, and so you can find the recording of the webinar on our wiki page where you can find the abstracts and everything. So that should be up there tomorrow. Yeah, so thank you guys again. I really appreciated having you guys, and it's such a great program, so I get really excited talking about it. So thank you so much for sharing it with everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Yeah.
And I'll go ahead and wrap it up. So thank you so much again. Bye-bye.